Okay, it's kind of hot here in Nashville this summer, so I figured I'd cool off with my little fan. Had a special request from our old buddy Swoop about how might we texture this fan, and don't know if I can answer it correctly or not. I'm certainly no expert like Swoop is on animation, but I'm pretty much a hack in that respect. But let's see if we can texture this old fan. I think I modeled this object, as I remember, in Lightwave 3D a few years ago, and made it out of a number of pieces and parts. Let's take a look at our prop here and go down to the fan. We got the base, we've got the fan cage and the fan turn. The turning motion is done with a dummy prop, and you can see there it basically just turns the fan. The oscillation of the cage here is basically just some keyframes, as I remember. If I can get the cage up here, there it is, just some keyframes oscillate left to right, and the rotation is handled with the dummy. So let's look at how we might go about adding new textures to the fan. It's got a texture on the base, but as I remember, I don't think there's a texture here. I've broken, when I modeled the object, I made sure that everything was broken out. We've got the logo, we've got the cage, the blades, the hub. So here's the logo isolated right here. Okay, let's take a closer look at the logo portion of our object and see how we might add a texture. Right now it simply has a reflection on it, which I certainly wanted a little bit of reflection for a shiny fan. Let's raise the color values here so we can see a little bit more of what we're going to do, what it's going to look like when we add a different texture. So I'm going to go up here to the diffusion panel and just look at my vast array of textures. And of course I love gritty, so let's add a gritty texture here. And now let's zoom in and see what that did. And didn't do too good. It made kind of horizontal streaks. So let's go down and look at our UV map and see what it's set at. Right now it's set at planar, and that might work. Let's change it to the y-axis, and that's looking a little better. I think what I want to do though is use the box UV type and go back to that. And now I think that's going to be a little better. Let me turn off the reflection so we can see a little more of what it's doing. There we go. Now let's say we might want to add a little more rust, so let's put a bump. I'm going to go into some tileable textures, and here's a marble crack, a little big, and so let's change that value to about a 3 or so, and let's take it down. And now we've got a cracked rust finish maybe to there, and we got some, of course, specular turned on. Add a little bit of reflection, and I think it'll be pretty complete with a different texture there. That texture, of course, was part of the cage and part of the logo itself. So there's a different texture there. Let's look at the base of the fan here. It's got a texture on it. Let's select it up here, and I'm going to have to click on that particular part. There we go. There's the fan motor, and there's the base right there. So let's change that texture out. Let's do something. Once again, we got a rough texture there. Here's a grittier texture here. Okay. Look at that now. Let's see, that's doing some weird stuff there. Let's go down here and look and see. Once again, our UV setting map is planar. Let's go to box and apply a box setting and see what that does. And that certainly looks, to my eye, better. And once again, I prefer the easy button, and that's the easy button for me. And if it looks okay to my eye, then it's good enough as far as I'm concerned. I'm not necessarily after perfection like a lot of folks might be. Once again, we can add that tileable cracked marble, and I may once again raise the value to a 3 or so, and then ease it back so it's not too much. But there we've got a little bit of a rough texture to that surface. Okay, let's locate our fan blades. They are part of the desk fan cage portion of our model. And there we have the blades. And there is a texture there. And there is our reflection. Turn it off. Once again, we'll change the color value a little brighter so we can see what effect we're going to be getting. This portion of the model looks like it's once again going to be affected by the box UV setting, and pretty much everything in this portion of the model will have to live with the box setting. And of course that's not the best way to do things, but it's working fine for this model, Swoop, so I'm going to stay with it. And let's put the fan blade graphic here. Once again, another gritty texture, and there we are. And I think that's going to work just fine. We can play with that value if we need to, and once again add some reflection onto that surface. And, it looks pretty nice there. I would probably darken it back down a bit, like so. And there we go. Maybe add a little more reflection to give it a little shinier bit of business as it spins around. There we go. Okay, now the cage portion is located right here. There is not a texture there. Once again, we've got, I'm going to raise up this color value here on the ambient diffusion values so they're a little brighter. And let's once again find from our vast array a color. And here we go. Let's use a red here, make it totally different. And so there's a red, and seems to be looking pretty good all around. And let's put a little reflection probably on there from the iClone reflection image maps, lowering it down. Once again, adding a little roughness to it, playing with that value. Little bit of a bumpiness due to age. There we go. And there we have a retextured fan. Once again, I'm not after perfection. If it looks good to my eye, I say it's good enough. If there's an easy button, I'm going to use it. And I think it's still cooling just fine. So hopefully that answers the question. I don't know. It probably doesn't. Can't wait to see more of Swoop's animations, and I hope it helps you, gives you some information, or feel free to tell me how to do it better.